Thank you for joining us. My name is Tony Robeson with Crossville Incorporated. Crossville is a porcelain tile manufacturer based in Crossville, Tennessee. As the first tile manufacturer in Tennessee, Crossville is the leading American manufacturer of beautiful, sustainable solutions that advance the frontiers of tile design. Our learning objectives today, understanding porcelain, understanding the new technologies and becoming familiar. Biggest thing for us today is really setting that expectation, especially as a specifier when selecting tile. You've got to be able to set that expectation moving forward. So some of the other things that we're going to learn is just very basic information that we all need to know, but we sometimes forget. Overview, going over the types of glass, types of tiles, ground joints, sizes, new technology that's coming out, overall, specifically large porcelain tile panels. Ceramic tile, very familiar with ceramic tile, often a glazed tile. Components for this it's not intended for commercial applications, it's more intended for residential, mainly because of the hardness and the porosity of the tile. There are some very big differences between a ceramic and a porcelain. Again, just understanding that for residential uses, ceramic is fine, but for commercial uses, you really need to select a porcelain, especially to meet code for horizontal applications, but you can utilize a ceramic tile in a vertical application. Just some images of some ceramic tile. Again, viewing it in the vertical applications. Porcelain tile, what makes a difference? Same components, it's just different amounts of material within the product. With porcelain, you find more feldspar, more silica, and clays are the same. The biggest difference is you can press a porcelain tile at a much higher compression strength, as well as you can fire it at a much higher temperature. What does that mean to you? What does that mean to us as specifiers? This allows us, a porcelain tile has less than 0.5% absorption. So as opposed to a ceramic tile, which has about 5 to 6% absorption and even higher. So the porosity is a lot different within those two. So that's the biggest difference between the two products. Different types of porcelains. You have your through body porcelain, our coordinated body, also called color body or through color, as well as your double filled. There's 3 different ways that a manufacturer can achieve that porcelain visual. The other big thing are the finishes. Please be aware and get your rep involved as far as what types of finishes are correct for your application. Current finishes, you have unpolished, polished, honed, satin, and textured. Setting that expectation when selecting a tile is absolutely huge. And these are things that we as specifiers, or we as designers or architects, we sometimes forget to take these types of things into consideration. So again, just overall setting that expectation. Just some nice visual of some porcelain tiles. Quarry tile. Quarry tile, we know quarry tile, it is an extruded product. It varies a tremendous amount. It has a huge amount of absorption. Your grout joints are typically a lot larger, 1/4 inch to 3/8 inch, and is very difficult to clean. Why quarry tile is being utilized is due to the high dynamic coefficient of friction. So you will find a quarry tile more in the back of house, more in a restaurant application. And overall, you're usually looking at a red or a gray, so not a lot of style and design, and it is extremely difficult to clean. Just some visuals of some quarry tile that everyone's familiar with. Glass tile. Glass tile has come a long way. Typically smaller, mosaic style, on a mesh back or paper face. They're clear or back painted are the only 2 real ways to actually color up a glass tile. Glass tiles are either cast, cold, or fused together. And realistically, since you're mainly back painting, you can come up with any sort of color that you can think of for the glass, which this just kind of shows some of unique visual properties of these different types of glass tiles. How can we distinguish between the various porcelains on the market today, which is very important, especially for a commercial application we're specifying? How we look at that is our ANSI specs, ANSI standards and test data. This will determine whether or not a product is truly a porcelain or a ceramic. There are some porcelains that are being called porcelains out there that are truly not. And this is a great way to verify whether the product that you're utilizing actually meets those standards. Absorption rates, breaking strength, bond strength, coefficient of friction, which is now dynamic coefficient of friction, and the shade variation. Shade variation we'll go over in a slide later on. To go over the technical details specifically, sizes. Tiles come in all shapes and sizes, and they are getting insanely large to very small. So a lot of the panels now you're even seeing from our standard 6x6, 3x3, 8x8, and now we're getting into panels that are 39 inches by 118 inches, 3 feet by almost 10 feet. We're even seeing some products that are 5 feet by 12 feet. So the tile industry has come a very long way. These larger sizes, this is probably one of the biggest things that I come across and that myself as a specifier have got to set that expectation up front, is large size tiles are considered any tile that exceeds 15 inches in any direction. So for an example, 6 by 18 inch tile is considered to be large. A large rectangular tile should not be offset by 50%. Recommended offset is a third to avoid excess lippage. In the porcelain tile manufacturing process, a product will have a certain curvature to the tile itself. Overall, when you offset that 50%, that lippage becomes a lot more apparent when you install that tile. So we recommend 33% is the furthest you can go. Never if possible, try to do a 50%. It will look horrible. And it's not an issue of the tile, it's an issue of the installation. So please, that is one really key thing that we like to hit home a lot. So calibrated versus rectified. Calibrated tiles are pressed and they are somewhat irregular when they're pressed that way. And manufacturers will sort different tiles to match what a calibrated tile is. So a calibrated tile will require a little bit larger grout line as well, 3/16 to a 1/4 inch, where rectified, where it's a pressed and fired tile and the edges are precision ground. What does that mean to you? It means that you can get a smaller grout joint in there for your aesthetic, because everybody likes that smaller grout joint. But you're also looking at, you have to consider, if I utilize a rectified tile, I need to expect at least 15% more on my costs overall. Actual versus nominal. On all your literature, when you look at a folder or literature of the product, it gives you an actual size and a nominal size. Please understand what this means, because a lot of people will specify multiple different products in the system or in a space, and they have to understand that there's an actual price or a size and an actual and nominal tile size. So typical 8x8, 12x12, 16x16. So basically what the actual size is can be less than, we say a 12x12, but it can be 11 3/4 as far as the actual and nominal. So patterning. Patterning is one of those things where if you use a product or two different products, you have to understand that if I use a decorative insert on the outsides, that the decorative insert is not larger than the actual tile itself. You will have some issues if that tile is thicker. So that is your patterning. Just be aware and ask a lot of questions before selecting material. Trim pieces that we use on the commercial side and as well as on the residential side is your bullnose and your cove base, sanitary cove base. And we do have building codes that will require one or the other or both or not at all. So you do have to ask those questions and set that expectation up front. A lot of companies do not have options of the trim pieces. So common, obviously, by many state and municipal health codes, that code base is required. Bullnose, 3 to 4 inches tall, used to finish off an edge, a top, or even a stair tread, as we can see. Coefficient of friction. Coefficient of friction has changed in the past 2 years. We used to go off of a static coefficient of friction, which was a specific way of testing the material. What we found out is that the static testing wasn't indicative of what really happening in the market. And the big, huge thing for anybody is that the slip fall issues. So they moved to a dynamic coefficient of friction, which is a more relative to what would happen if there was water and soap on the floor and you were actually going to slip. So the dynamic coefficient of friction is what we're based off of now. Exterior applications. Most porcelain tiles, all porcelain tiles can be utilized exterior on a vertical application. There's only a few products that we would recommend as a manufacturer that could go horizontal on an exterior application. But definitely get your rep involved and ask a lot of questions concerning what is applicable for your exterior application. One other thing with exterior application, we do not recommend is if you do put a topical treatment on there to make it the coefficient of friction increased, it does void the warranty of the tile. So things to consider, again, shade variation. A lot of manufacturers have a tremendous amount of shade or shade variation. It goes off of a V system, V1, V2, V3, V4, and it's variation 1, variation 2, variation 3, variation 4. Also, more things to consider. Sustainability story, ask the questions. If you need to go with a lead, or if you need, or if you are concerned about that, you want that sustainable story, make sure that you ask those questions. How is the tile made? Does it contain recycled material in it? Can the tile itself be recycled? These are key components in a sustainability story as well. Where is the tile made? That is huge. If it's domestically made, or if it's made in Italy, China, Brazil, different things like that. Another thing with where the tile is made, setting that expectation of, hey, it's going to take 12 weeks to get here, or it's 4 days away coming out of Tennessee. And then how are problems handled? Do you have a local rep? Is there someone there that can address the issues that need to be asked? So those are also very key things. Technical department is another big one. New technologies. Ease of cleaning. Some tile manufacturers offer an integrated finish that allows you to clean easier. The big thing for us is scuffs, graffiti, and any sort of other application that can get on the tile. Making that tile easier to clean is always a big concern. Large porcelain tile panels, very large porcelain tile panels. Again, the 1 meter by 3 meter tiles, 39 inches by 118 inches. Very lightweight, easy to transport, and does require a trained installer to install the material. Grout lines, 2 millimeter on the walls, 3 millimeter on the floors. And then we have just some images of those large porcelain panels to give you an idea of what we're looking at. And that will actually conclude. Biggest thing I hope everyone takes away from this is you need to ask the questions and set that expectation up for your customer. Thank you.